Michighouls! Welcome to a special edition of Haunted Mitten. So along with a few technical difficulties from the episode that was supposed to come out like 2 weeks ago, thanks Audacity, we've decided to do something a little different. The coronavirus is going around. We're all subjugated to our own houses, our own dwellings. So we've decided to break that rule entirely and meet to record a casual podcast.
Because we are rebels like that.
Yeah.
Today's going to be a little different than normal. We don't have a script. We don't have any kind of set subjects to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about our own personal experiences here in Michigan and some outside, and talk about a few of the things that we will probably be doing on upcoming episodes, and just some of the cool other paranormal things that we haven't touched on yet.
And we have a special guest with us as well.
Yeah, if you didn't hear me earlier, hi, I'm Aaron. I am married to the beautiful redhead. That's Kim, by the way.
That's me,
because
Krista is blue.
Yeah,
also,
I'm the beautiful bluehead.
My name is Kay, not Kim, for future reference on the podcast. What are you doing? What are you up to? What's your life?
Well, I work in grocery, and thankfully, because, I still have work, I write stories, some shorts. I've actually got one out for approval right now. Hopefully to be published in Fairy Tales Punk'd, coming out in the next, approved in the next couple months, coming out in the next 6 months. And that's, I'm a big fan of mythology, cryptids, ghosts, etc. So,
So you put up with us?
Yes.
He has to. He's married to me. He's
and she has the paperwork to prove it, too.
I do. Well,
I signed that paperwork. I'm a witness. Yeah.
You're also our resident historian.
Yeah, I studied history in college, and I have been studying it my whole life because I'm a huge nerd.
Yep.
So I know history a lot, and if I don't, I can find out about it.
Thanks, Google overlords. I don't know. Why don't we just start with some of our personal experiences? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I can start because mine are the shortest, I think. When I was living in Ohio, my grandparents lived in Hocking County, and for those of you who are not familiar, the Hocking Hills are about 45 minutes south of Columbus, give or take some travel east-westward. They are gorgeous and rural. They are now a popular place for rich people to buy vacation homes. But at the time, they were just the hills. Mostly sandstone, very wooded, lots of ponds and lakes. And my grandparents owned 40 acres down there. When I was visiting them one spring, summery day, I walked out of their side door, and I looked toward the woods, and I saw a figure standing over by what was known as the bee pasture because my grandpa used to raise bees there. And I saw it, and I saw it move, and I saw it disappear. When I went to go look, there wasn't any sign of any, animal. There was no fur or any serious tracks to speak of. The vegetation was kind of tamped down, but that was also just a good way to get into the woods if you were going hunting or whatever, so it wasn't that wasn't a surprise. But there was definitely something there. I thought it was a black bear at the time, but they don't often stand on their hind legs, so I'm not sure. They don't often stand on their hind legs for no reason, so I'm not sure what it would have been. I have since come to conclude that I still don't know what it is. But it was definitely not a normal size for an animal you would see in Hocking County that is not a farm animal. It was much bigger and rounder than any large animal in the area, like a deer or something.
So what shape was it?
It was vaguely man-shaped. It was bipedal. It it had a head, and it had shoulders and arms and legs, and it was big, and I think furry, because it was a little ways away when I walked out, so I didn't get a very good look at it, and the light was behind it.
I didn't know that story.
Now you do.
That's new to me.
The look on your face now is beautiful. It's like accusatory. I'm like, I didn't know that story. Why haven't you told me that story?
You keeping secrets from me?
Nope.
Good answer.
Not anymore, anyway.
That was it. That was the last secret.
It never came up.
Really? In your entire life with me? A
Even
paranormal story never came up.
Even when she worked on that play about cryptids?
I know I told you about the black bear, but at the time I thought it was a black bear.
A likely story.
So are there a lot of black bears in that area? Like, would that be...
It's possible. It's not terribly likely.
Okay.
There definitely used to be a lot of black bears in the area, but because expanding civilization and shitty humans, they have since mostly disappeared. There even used to be, there have been tales of mountain lions in the area, but that was a couple, 100 plus years ago.
Okay.
Well, no, it's still the eastern mountain lion is still a cryptid, basically on this half of the U.S. through to the Atlantic is still talked about, and big cat sightings are a huge thing on our side of the U.S. And like Florida, relatively recently, I think, had their first like confirmed sighting of an eastern mountain lion. I don't know how they're different from the ones that we have in California, other than they were basically brought to extinction, and everybody thought they were extinct on this half of the U.S., and it turns out they might not be.
So I have read about the eastern mountain lion, but I didn't know about there being recent sightings. They were super dangerous, especially for livestock and horses back in the day. And very fast, very big, very hard to catch. But people manage because people are terrible.
Oh, yeah. People will find a way. If they want to kill something, people will find a way.
Death finds a way.
It does. It absolutely does. There are no wolves in Japan. Just say it.
Yeah. Next.
Well, that reminds me of also Ohio Bigfoot maybe story. It's not my story, but so I do charity gift wrapping during the holidays, and there was a woman, lovely woman. I do not mean to knock her at all. She was fantastic, and she had us wrapping Bigfoot toys, those figurine things from I think Archie McPhee.
Yeah.
For her sons, and she said, "Oh, you're probably wondering why I'm getting these for my grown sons," and I really wasn't.
No, we understand.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, there's a story here, and I want to hear this story, whatever it is, now that you've said this.
Now that you've asked.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, I wasn't wondering that at all, but go on. So she is also from Ohio, now living in Michigan. She's from Bryan, which is just southwest of Toledo, so not far across the Michigan border. Still within close proximity to us.
Close enough.
It's where dum-dums are made. Just putting that out there because that was a fun thing I discovered when I was researching this.
Delicious dum-dums.
I love dum-dums. And I had no idea they were made in the Midwest. That was fun. But so she was working for her dad's company, whatever that was. It was tax season. She was doing the taxes for him. So she was working late, was driving home through the woods, because it's pretty rural out there, just like it is in Michigan. And she saw Bigfoot in the road. And she says, I swear to you, it was Bigfoot. It looked exactly like this. And she held up the figure, and she said it was a little bit lighter than she thought it would be, but still brown. And it just walked across the road and then went into the woods across a field or something. And she got out and chased it. She parked her car and she got up and she pursued it.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
A+.
Yeah, because she was just like, what is that? And she couldn't catch up to it. She said it was too fast and it was gone. But she said, I swear to you, it was Bigfoot. And I said, I am not going to tell you you're wrong because I wasn't there. And that's a really great story.
That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. So what she saw, I don't know. I have no idea what she saw, but she's convinced it was Bigfoot. And I don't know what else would be out in those woods. But Ohio, you have a lot of explaining to do, apparently.
Ohio is, and I'm so sorry that we don't get to be in Cincinnati to do our panel, which you may or may not have known about, but because of COVID-19, everything is shut down. So that includes our symposium. Ohio is a lot weirder and a lot more paranormal a place than I would have ever imagined. There's so much weird. Okay, this is a casual podcast. I'm cursing. There's so much weird shit down in Ohio. Bigfoot being one of those things. Bigfoot is often sighted in Ohio. Bigfoot is often sighted in a lot of states. It's not just a Pacific Northwest phenomenon. It's not just like a Florida skunk ape phenomenon. It's the entire U.S. It's everywhere.
Ohio, weird is what we do.
I mean, kinda.
Okay. Let's see.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, apparently you're not. I have a couple stories actually from Michigan, Ohio storytelling people. The first involves Krista's old house. I think it was, I stayed over while your mom was gone for like 10 days or something. So I was there to watch the house and the dogs because that's a pretty long time to leave a house. And of course, I was watching the doggos because I think she went camping.
Yeah, probably.
But Higgins hated camping, and this was after Baggins' emergency surgery stuff.
And Higgins had really bad allergies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So she went camping for about 10 days or so. So I was alone with the dogs for that time. I experienced a whole bunch of stuff in that house. The most significant being a shadow person.
A Sherson?
No. Nice try.
I don't know.
Keep this up, and we're not having you on this podcast again.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we are.
He knows too much about history.
I know, we need him. Oh, God. No, we need you.
My tolerance for boringness.
Please don't leave. That's true. Basically, every night, because I slept in Krista's old room, and the dogs didn't really sleep in rooms. They slept wherever. They definitely didn't sleep with me, even though I tried.
Yeah. Well, they weren't allowed in my old room overnight because that was the cat's room. So
that's right.
They wouldn't have come in anyway.
Yeah. They only came in the mornings when I overslept, and they were like, "We have to pee, please, please." I would see, when I was laying there, I always kept one light on, usually like in the kitchen or somewhere, because it's a ranch style house, so on the other side of the house, just so I'd have a light on, because the house did kind of freak me out a little bit. And more than once, as I was laying in bed to go to sleep, I would definitely see like the shadow of a person on the wall outside your room. I didn't like going into the back room, the den, by myself. I definitely had a lot of really strong feelings there, none of which were bad. I want to point that out now. None of which felt evil or bad or anything. But when you're in a house by yourself, that's a little much.
And I will say, because I used to have weird feelings in that family room too, but I will say that is where my father passed away, was in that room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so like not
and
negative.
all of this is happening post.
Yeah, not
his
long after.
passing.
And that was his favorite room. He always hung out in that room. That room is the reason we bought that house.
I mean, I can see why I'd buy that house based on that
heck
room.
yeah. It had a real fieldstone fireplace.
Yeah.
Come on.
I would buy that house. I loved that house. And there would be like, random noises. I would find lights on or off that shouldn't have been on or off. and just kind of a general constant feeling of being watched. I figured it was Pa because the dogs didn't care.
Yeah. And I, like, not to be mean against my father, I guess, but he was not a fan of people being in his house.
Oh, no. I'm pretty sure he was like, I'm only letting you stay because you're essentially another daughter. If you were anybody else, I would do some poltergeist shit.
If you did feel like you were being watched and you had food anywhere near you, it was probably just the dogs, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I had an audience every time I ate. That's true. The other story is one that Krista and I experienced together. Last time I lived here in Michigan from 2011 to 2013, Krista and I took a whirlwind tour of the UP. I don't know how we did it that fast.
That was epic.
We took 4 days, and that's all we had off of work. We went up to the UP, went from Paulding to Paradise, and all the places in between, and then came home. We stayed at the worst motels I've ever stayed in.
Just because they were vintage 1970.
Oh, the bath mat was just paper.
Oh, it was like my grandparents' basement. It was amazing.
I still find the pictures. Like, I still, I still have those pictures, and I will go through them every once in a while and just be like, man, we were so much younger.
I would do that with you today.
Oh, we're not staying in the same places.
No, we're staying in nicer hotels now.
I'll totally go eat breakfast at that weird, like, Yukon bar.
Oh, yeah, that place was awesome. I hope it's still there.
It was so good. And everybody looked at us so weird. I had pink hair. You didn't do that up in the UP in 2012.
I think mine was purple, wasn't it? Or the underpart was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 2 women coming in to a bar at 9 a.m. for breakfast with weird hair. It's not something the UP was used to. Anyway, we took a trip up there specifically to see the Paulding Light. If you are unfamiliar, it is a mysterious glowing light that happens in along an old railroad crossing between Paulding and Watersmeet up in the UP. It is this light that happens pretty religiously unless it's a terrible weather night, which I don't know, I presume is due to fog and rain and...
Yeah, because it's very wooded. It's really dense up there. You probably just wouldn't have very good visibility.
You wouldn't see anything. The story goes that it was... the light is that of a ghostly railroad crossing dude. What are they called?
Crossing guard?
Is that what they're called?
I would make sense, unless you're talking about, like, a railroad engineer.
No, he's the guy that does the switches.
Switchman? I can't remember.
Switchman! I'm trying to look it up right now. Nope. Thanks, Atlas Obscura. You didn't give me anything this time. Weird. Crossing guard dude who would hold up the lantern at the switches. It's basically him still doing his job after his untimely death of being hit by a train. And you can see different color, a light that is changing different colors and growing brighter and getting dimmer, starting at about sunset and going past when we left at like 10. We watched it for like 4 hours. It's been on Factor Faked, that show that tried to like debunk different paranormal videos. I have a video somewhere that I can upload to the website, probably, ?
Yeah, I probably have pictures too, but they're not going to be very good
They're
by
not
today's standards.
It's a 2012 phone camera, everybody. They're terrible. It was probably the coolest paranormal experience of my life, if not one of just the coolest experiences of my life. We were there with a tour bus.
Practically.
It's a switchman.
I was right!
You were right. Chris is always right when it comes to trivia things.
I just come up with things and it turns out to be true.
And it turns out they're right. Whether it's car lights, whether it's a ghost, Atlas Obscura. Oh, Railroad Brakeman. It's right there. Oh, well.
Okay, who's the brakeman?
It's literally in front of me. Sorry, Atlas Obscura. I take back everything I just said. This also said it could be the ghost of a Native American dancing on the power lines. I don't know why it would be.
Okay.
Who knows?
It's just weird.
Whether it's, any of those things, it's really cool. And as far as I know, hasn't been debunked yet.
So some students, I'm assuming from Michigan Tech did go up, and they did show that at least some of what people are seeing or probably seeing is, because a lot of people say like, oh, well, it's just lights from the highway. Yes and no.
Okay.
Because the highway turns. So when you're looking straight down that track, you're not seeing the highway. The highway is not there.
Right.
It's this crazy thing about how light bends and different things. So you're seeing like the reflection of the cars. And when you're seeing like the white, red, those are cars coming and going. Mm. But that's, after talking to all of those people, I don't think that's the Paulding light.
Okay.
Like that obviously is going on, because I fully believe these tech people when they say that.
Oh, sure.
Tech meaning Michigan Tech.
Yeah.
I'm not calling them techie people. But so when people say, oh, you're just seeing the highway, that's not the full story. Flat out. That is not the full story.
Uh-huh.
Even if you're saying it's not a natural phenomenon, you're not just seeing the highway.
Right.
And that could also be why you're not seeing it in inclement weather, because you have to have the right conditions for this to happen. There's a video that they posted online that is actually pretty interesting, that has diagrams and things and shows you how it works.
Cool. I need to
so yeah, we'll definitely be linking to that, because it's a fascinating phenomenon, period.
Oh yeah.
Even if you are seeing the reflections of the cars, like, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's reflecting off would it be the water vapor in the air?
Yeah, it could be something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, look it up. I have seen diagrams like that, and it's a really cool phenomenon.
And you have to be standing in just the right spot to see it. And I saw the episode of Fact or Fake. I believe we watched that together.
Yeah.
And there was a point where two people stayed on the hill, because there's a guardrail, because that area actually was washed out. So where you stand now is not where people used to stand.
Right.
So where you had two people stand there, and then two people just walk down the trail, and the people who walked down the trail stopped being able to see it.
Yeah.
So that leads some evidence to this reflection thing. Mm-hmm. But most of the people we talked to, they were there in like the 60s, 70s, and where you stand now is not where they were standing.
Right.
So if you have to be standing at just the right angle to see this phenomenon, what were they seeing?
Yeah.
Not this.
And the light also was not just like car light colors, but it did go green sometimes.
It did. And some of the people were saying, because it used to be a makeout spot. We're just putting that out there. It used to be a makeout spot in the 60s for teenagers. They would go take their dates there.
Of course.
And multiple people that we talked to said the light came right up to their car, danced around the car. Sometimes there are power lines there. Sometimes you would see it dancing along the power lines, which to me sounds like ball lightning, which is rare. Why would all these people be seeing ball lightning when that is an extremely rare phenomenon?
And like, as of 2020, as of March 2020, there is quite literally one known video of ball lightning. That's all we have.
Yeah. So we've had multiple reports from the people there that because it was a party. There were so many people there.
Yeah. It was awesome. We were standing around with like 50 people. A lot of them like
drinking,
middle-aged housewives that were totally drunk off this tour bus. And it was great.
Yeah, it was great. And this is like a known thing. I guess people just go out at sunset and go check out the light.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talked to a lot of people. They're really friendly because it's the UP. Everybody's friendly.
Oh yeah, everybody was so nice and happy to tell us about how they've been coming here since 1975 and how it's been the same like since then. And
one guy was like, "Oh, I had my car parked right down there before everything was washed away." Mm-hmm. So I think he said there used to be a bridge.
Yes.
And that's where you would park by the bridge, and all of that's gone now. It probably doesn't look the same now as it did when we were there. Even wouldn't surprise me.
Probably not. I gotta get back up to the UP.
We really do.
We gotta.
But yeah, I found this to be an interesting phenomenon because maybe you are seeing these reflected lights, and that's really cool. But that doesn't explain dancing along the power lines, coming up to people's cars.
Right.
When they were parked further down, they were still seeing it. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, and it was like the 60s, 70s. There wasn't nearly as much traffic along the highway then, so why would the light be so constant? Like, there's no
Right.
way that there were cars going by fast enough and most frequently enough to produce all of that, all this and this constant phenomenon.
I mean, there really wasn't when we were there either.
No, it's still the rural
It was the middle of nowhere.
UP, and
Yeah.
there were not that many cars, and the light never blinked on and off. It got brighter and dimmer, but it was always there.
It was always there. It never went away. It was really strange. So whatever this is, natural. I mean, I'm assuming it's natural regardless.
Right.
Because I consider supernatural also to be natural.
Right. Oh, I was going to say, that's, even the supernatural is natural in some fashion.
Yeah. So, like, whatever is going, whether it's multiple things happening and they're just being called the same thing. Gee, because that's never happened before in science. Yeah, it was really interesting. And it's fun to just go up there and talk to people and get their stories. I loved it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and like I said, it went on for hours. We watched it for probably 4 hours. Then we're like, we've been driving for 10. We really need to go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, we drove straight from Ann Arbor to
Baldwin.
No, we stopped at the hotel first because we dropped our stuff off. And we got dinner, and then we went down.
Yeah. And then I think by like 10 or 11, we were just... This slide is cool, but I've been watching it for hours, and I need to go to sleep.
We need to go now. And I will... Just because not everyone from the Lower Peninsula and other places thinks of this, there was no bathroom. There was no outhouse. There was no place nearby to drive to. So there was the woods. And I peed at least twice in those woods.
Yeah, you did. And there was also a group of us that started walking towards the Paulding Light, and then somebody even further ahead was like, there's a mama bear up ahead with her
that's
cubs.
right.
And then we all went, we're going back.
Yeah. And it was sandy, too, so you kind of had to be careful.
Yeah.
As it got darker, you had to be really careful while you were walking.
But we were like, oh, there's a bear with cubs? We're out.
Yeah. Because we were in the UP in the middle of the woods, and there are bears there.
There's bars. There's a bar over there. Only my youth kids from church will understand that reference. None of them listen to this. Yay!
Great big bears.
I mean, my parents went camping in the Porcupine Mountains, and they had bears in their campsite. So,
I mean, I'm used to that. I'm
there are
Californian.
bears.
Yeah, I'm used to that.
Yeah, people from downstate are not.
No, I don't.
For the most part.
The first time I went camping with you guys and the food was on the table as we were going to bed, it was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, some of it they would leave out. The most you have to worry about here is like raccoons.
Right.
Which are dicks, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, raccoons are jerks. It's fine.
Hey, you leave it out. That's your problem.
You didn't take the precautions.
Yeah, they would. We usually put stuff in our car, but yeah, a lot of times they would just leave certain things out.
Yeah.
That's what's known as a donation to the local raccoon population.
And squirrels. And probably skunks and anything else that get on a table.
Yep.
Yeah, but raccoons have those grabby little paws. They can actually just pick it up and take it.
I know, they're so cute.
Like that one raccoon in that GIF that just takes that whole pizza. It's fantastic.
Yep, exactly.
Yoink. Any other experiences you want to talk about?
Well, I can talk about some that I've had, like, in different houses that I've lived in.
Sure. Those are Michigan related.
I'll take this a
the
little
rest
closer.
of mine are not. So mine are all
Yeah.
California based. So.
I don't know that I have any California ones, so they're pretty much going to be all Michigan. Greg's got some from other states on vacations we've gone on. But the first experience I can think of when I was little, so I would have been 3 or 4, because it was when I lived in Kalamazoo and we moved when I was 4.5. So it was Christmas. So yeah, I guess I would have been 4. I would have just turned 4. It was Christmas, and I got up and I wanted to see if the presents were there yet, because of course I did. I was 4. Yeah. So my bedroom door opened right onto the living room. So I peeked out and I saw this giant black shadow, like, moving around the Christmas tree, and, like, not even just walking, like, moving around it, like, up and around in ways that people can't move. But it was really big, like, it was man-sized easily, and the presents were rustling. And so part of me is going, well, it's got to be Santa, It's like I looked at the door and I looked at the windows. Everything was closed and locked.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's either a burglar or maybe it's Santa. But I was pretty sure Santa was BS. Like, I just didn't believe in that stuff when I was little. I just assumed it was adults made up stories. But I was forced. My mind is going, that has to be Santa, right? Well, I guess it doesn't look like my dad, but I guess it could be him. So my bedroom was joined to my parents' bedroom by the bathroom. So I crept through the bathroom, looked in the room, and nope, Pa's there, Mom's there. Looked in my bedroom, which I shared with my brother. Nope, he was there. So all the humans were accounted for. And then I got really terrified, and I jumped in my bed and put my blanket over my head and just stayed there until morning. And I did fall asleep because I was the last one to wake up. And when I got out, like, I totally expected my parents to say, like, oh my God, you guys, we were burgled in the middle of the night. And I got out there and nope, nobody said anything. It was a normal Christmas. And I was so convinced we had been burgled that it took a while for me to, like, settle down.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I found out after we moved out that the house was probably haunted because my mother had a number of experiences in that house, which we'll definitely be talking to her later as well because she's got some good stories. But she didn't want to scare us kids.
Of course
so
not. Yeah,
she didn't say anything.
Tell your 4-year-old that you have
right.
ghosts in the house. That's terrifying.
Right. But it turned out, or the neighbor had told her when we moved in that there had been a house fire and a little boy had died.
Whoops.
Yeah. So my mom was convinced that was the little boy that was doing things around the house. And I never told anyone about the Christmas thing until years later.
Yeah.
Because I knew that it was weird and, like, maybe not something I should be talking about.
Right.
And everything seemed fine. We weren't burgled after all. And I thought, well, okay, I guess maybe that was Santa.
Santa is a giant black blob.
Yeah, like, it was so strange. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, am I dreaming? No. Okay. Poke, check my arm. Nope. Everything looks right. No, I'm not dreaming. Okay.
Uh-oh.
It was really weird.
You had Shadow Santa.
Yeah.
Shanta.
But I remember it wasn't touching the ground. Like, it wasn't walking.
Right.
It was just this giant shadow moving around the tree and, like, messing with the presents.
Yeah.
Which, if it was a little boy, yeah, he might have been like, oh, yeah, he was excited, But it was definitely bigger than a little boy because it was bigger than me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, kind of weird. That's the only, like, really vivid thing I remember now. Uh-huh. When I was in elementary school, I wrote stories about things happening in the house.
Okay.
But I don't remember them now. It's too far away.
Yeah.
Too far removed from that. But I did remember other things happening when I was younger.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm sure my mother will be happy to talk about it too.
Yeah. I can't wait for her segment.
Yeah. Because she told me once that she made my dad move out of an apartment because she kept seeing an old lady and it freaked her out. So she's like, we can't live here anymore.
No, we're done. We're out.
Old ladies can be scary.
It's
just
true.
saying.
It's true.
Even if they're not ghosts.
Yeah. And then the house we moved into after that was in Portage, which is not the house that Kim was talking about. It was another house. I used to see shadow people all the time in that house. And I just was like, oh, I guess these are shapes. I don't know. Because they never interacted with anybody until one night I woke up and I sort of called for my mom. I was, again, like 5 or 6. I was very young. And like there was somebody, it looked like there was somebody standing in the hallway looking into my bedroom, like kind of hiding around the corner a little bit. And it looked like the outline of a woman with long hair, like long straight hair. Like hippie kind of, like really long.
Yeah.
And when I said, Mom, it like moved and then started coming towards me. And I was just transfixed. I was like, what is happening right now? Like, I know that's not my mom, but in a way it felt like it was.
Okay.
Which is really strange.
Mom vibes.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I was like, and I said, Mom? Because I knew that wasn't my mother. She has short hair. She hasn't always had short hair. When she's in the 70s, she had the long hippie hair.
Yeah.
But by the time I came along, it was 80s short, frizzy, permed.
Yep.
And this would have been the late 80s when this happened. And I knew this person wasn't my mother, but I just got this weird feeling like it was. And she came pretty close to my bed when I was calling out Mom. And she just came almost right up to the bed. And I reached out to like touch her. And she popped like a bubble.
Ah.
And then I really screamed, Mom. And then my mother got up, came out of her bedroom. Whoa, did you have a nightmare? So like I was awake because as soon as that lady popped like a bubble, I was very awake and I was sitting up because I had put my hand out. Uh-huh. And that was just so bizarre. So bizarre. And that's one of those things that's like burned into my memory.
Yeah.
You were visited by the ghost of your mother's hippie past.
I had that thought.
Oh yeah, my first thought was like, well, I guess it could be.
Like, was it like, yeah, was it her spirit just wandering the house at night or something?
Yeah, and like, is she astral projecting?
Yeah, it was so weird.
That's so strange.
And just, I remember like it popped like a bubble.
Yeah.
That's odd. I haven't really heard that in many stories.
Yeah,
right, like
that's the weirdest part to me.
Say, that's the actual weirdest part of the whole story.
Do you have another story?
I do have another story. Now that you mention it, it's not so much supernatural experience as very, very strange. I guess it would be considered supernatural because I have dreams sometimes that then come true like way later in a no useful fashion whatsoever. It is annoying and also difficult because, for example, probably about 2 years before we moved to Michigan, I had a dream about being at game night with our current game night group of friends.
Which is something we do every Sunday night, and
yes.
This particular gaming group has met for about a decade every Sunday night.
Yeah, and I had this dream where I saw this black and white cat come out of this hallway, and I was looking at this cat, like I was looking through the kitchen at this cat, and his name was Baxter, and making noise. And then he turned around and sort of batted at and beat up on another cat and named Whitey. And I had never met these cats. I had never seen this kitchen. I had never been to one of these game nights. But then at my first or second game night after we moved back to Michigan, I met Baxter and Whitey. And Baxter was beating up on Whitey in exactly the same fashion. And when Kim was telling me about the cats, I told her their names before she told me.
It was very strange.
It was creepy. And I have no useful premonition whatsoever, but I knew that I would meet Baxter and Whitey someday.
You had one about our current cat too, didn't you?
Yep. I don't remember exactly how it went, but I had a dream about owning a cat, and then, well, we owned this particular cat, and it was the exact same pattern with the little funky pattern on her face that's like
it's like a whale tail.
Like whale tail mustache thing. I knew what the cat would look like before I met our cat.
You're super good at really mundane premonitions.
Yep. Nothing useful whatsoever.
I don't know. Our cat one, Sigrun, that one was reassuring to me when I was nervous about, is this going to work out? I was like, oh, well, Aaron's already had a dream about her. It's fine.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Hey guys, Kay here. So as I'm sure you heard, that podcast was a little different from what we're used to doing. With this quarantine thing, we are not able to get into our normal recording studio, and we are not able to get together to do the podcast that you know and love. But we hope that you enjoyed hearing about some of our personal experiences. I just want to thank Aaron for coming on the podcast. Thank Krista, as always, for being a wonderful co-host. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to find us on social media
at Haunted Mitten or Haunted Mitten Podcast, pretty much everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find me at K Gray Writes. You can find Krista anywhere online as Krista K. Coburn. We have a website. We have a Patreon that we hope to put some stuff up on. The website is Haunted Mitten Podcast at .podbean.com. And our Patreon will be having some other interviews hopefully soon. One of them with Krista's husband, Greg. It's really great. He's got a lot of crazy stories. Excuse me. So be sure to check that out. If you can donate, or if you want to donate, if you like what we're doing, please do. If not, no worries. Our podcast itself is going to stay free as always. Okay, I hope that we have brightened up your quarantine days a little bit. And, I don't know, happy haunting.